Hello there, and welcome to another of the auction pre-videos. So this time for the sale, which is going to take place here in London on Thursday the 24th of July. Hopefully it's not going to be quite as sweltering as it is at the moment, so I hope you don't mind our dress. Nonetheless, it's a really exciting sale, catalogue out, and everything is very much online at the moment. So I hope you've already tucked into a few of the exciting lots, but we're here just to talk to you about 6 gems from the sale and give you a bit more information and take you through a few of our favourite lots. So I think I'll begin with the back cover lot this time. I'm going to start with the Royal Air Force. We usually start with the Navy. We're going to cover that a little bit later. I'm going to talk to you about lot 193, which is this DFC and bar group to Wing Commander Stan Norris. And it's not just any DFC and bar group, it's a pure Battle of Britain 1940 award for his services with 610 County of Chester Squadron. Stan was a pre-war regular who qualified as a pilot, and when the Battle of Britain came around, he was very much the fore. He'd earned his DFC by September 1940, and by that time he had no less than 6 kills and 2 probables with 610. He was a comrade of some really well-known names. Peg, Ronnie Hamlin, who gained Ace in a Day status, medals sold in these rooms over a decade now, and Bam Bamberger as well. So 3 really well-known comrades of Stan Norris, and he very much rates in the 1st Division of the Battle of Britain Spitfire Ace. The Battle of Britain is such an evocative story, and we've had such luck in the last couple of years anyway to sell some really famous, really special groups and gallantry groups. As you can see, this follows on that chain. And we're always looking for a point of difference, and with this one, for me, Stan Norris features in the famous photograph of those young airmen waiting on the ground on that sunny day at Hawkinge in the summer of 1940. He's in the scene. He's actually apparently chewing down on a hard piece of chocolate which has just come out of a refrigerator, so his jaw is properly engaged, and it's a really striking photograph. It's one of the sort of enduring and genuine photographs of the Battle of Britain. It's not a staged photograph. It's real. It's them sat there talking about air combat and passing on that knowledge between the young pilots. Stan Norris, as you can see, went on to serve out in the Far East and in the jungles of Burma. He actually converted to Hurricanes and took his notch up to 10 kills by the end of the Second World War. He added that bar to his DFC, and we've got one of his 2 flying logbooks. The other one is obviously included, but this is the Battle of Britain one. It incorporates that famous summer. And this is, again, a really fresh group. It's only been on the market once before, in July 1986, when it was sold by the recipient, and it was sold to our vendor. And it's a really lovely story. It's direct, just through one pair of hands, in a really cherished collection ever since. And the 2 actually forged a friendship. And so Stan Norris and our vendor got to know each other pretty well, and enjoyed lunches, and I'm sure a fair few tall tales were told over a bottle of wine or 2. And it's a privilege to have this group for sale. So lot 193, Wing Commander Stan Norris's Battle of Britain DFC and bar group, and 50 to 70,000. When we think of recent prices, it's a very much come and get me estimate. So let's see what happens on the day. Smashing group. I'm going to very quickly turn from the Royal Air Force, and I'm going to turn to the Army. And this group with some Second World War stars and a little inconspicuous brown box, and that is the front cover lot. And I'll display it now for you. That is the historically important, regimentally unique Second World War posthumous Victoria Cross Group of 5, awarded to Lieutenant Woolward Peter Sanders Clark, Loyal Regiment. It's our headline lot. It's an absolute smasher. By now it will have featured in the international press. Sole boulder of the family, so it's a real privilege over the last few years, Harry especially and myself, to get to know the descendants of gallant Sandys Clark. He was from a line of very decorated soldiers, and his close relatives, he could count no less than 4 holders of the Victoria Cross. So Lord Roberts and his son, and Congreve and his son were close relatives through Sandys Clark's mother, and Sandys Clark carved his name into history. He was educated at Uppingham, and we're displaying one of his cricket caps here. He was actually a very talented sportsman, played scrum half of the rugby 15. He also played for the first 11 cricket team and was selected for a junior Lords 11. So played at the home of cricket and didn't return figures that were too bad, having had a look at the scorecard. And he was presented with his cricket cap. So obviously Uppingham, very famous school. The names of Blackett Ord and Sandys Clark passed out with flying colours. And Sandys Clark himself went into the family, prominent industrial family, rather begrudgingly apparently took a job in the family business, but signed up as a territorial once the threat of war was looming, and was commissioned into the Royal Regiment. He was actually a member of the 5th Battalion, and unfortunately when they were motorised, he was very, very badly injured in a motorcycle accident, and was blinded in his left eye and was left deaf in his left ear, and his whole left side of his face is recorded as having been, that loss of sensation. So he tried 3 times to pass the medical board, and the 3rd time he was met by a very prominent eye surgeon who'd actually performed the attempted restoration to his vision, which had obviously been a failure. And miraculously, he was passed A1. He was very lucky not, in a way, to be with the 5th Battalion. They were rolled up at the Fort of St. Paul. But it meant that in the spring of 1943, Sandys Clark was shipped off with the 1st Battalion to North Africa. He was there with a brother officer, Lieutenant Deakin, and it just so happened that Sandys Clark had met Lieutenant Deakin's sister and had married her previously, and he was sailing in the knowledge that his wife was carrying their first child, which would be born but a few months after he landed in North Africa. The regiment were thrown into the thick of the action, taking up their positions as part of Operation Vulcan, and one of the real points of difference that we have here at Spink is selling things for families for the first occasion and having access to those unpublished archives and the amazing things which have survived the test of time. And this is no exception. This is a bound book of all the family cuttings and extracts which relate to his life and the acts that he performed to win his Victoria Cross. Rather than giving you my view, I'm going to give the London Gazette's view at length, and I do think it's worth quoting here because this is such a special Victoria Cross. So here's the citation published on Tuesday the 29th of June 1943. For most conspicuous gallantry in action at Guriat El Atash on the 23rd of April 1943, of course St George's Day and Good Friday that year. By dawn on that day, during the attack on the feature, Lieutenant Clark's battalion had been fully committed. B Company gained their objective but were counter-attacked and almost wiped out. The sole remaining officer was Lieutenant Clark, who, already wounded in the head, gathered a composite platoon together and volunteered to attack the opposition again. As they closed in to their objective, it was met by heavy machine gun fire from a post. Clark manoeuvred his platoon in position to give covering fire and then tackled the post single-handed, killing or capturing the crew and knocking out the gun. Almost at once, the platoon came under heavy fire from 2 more machine gun posts. Clark again manoeuvred his platoon into position and went forward alone, killed the crews or compelled them to surrender, and put the guns out of action. This officer then led his platoon onto the objective and ordered it to consolidate. During consolidation, they came under fire from 2 sniper posts. Without hesitating, Lieutenant Clark advanced single-handed to clear the opposition, but was killed outright within a few feet of the enemy. This officer's quick grasp of the situation and his brilliant leadership undoubtedly restored the situation, whilst his outstanding personal bravery and tenacious devotion to duty were an inspiration to his company and were beyond praise. So he was killed in that act, aged just 23 years. You can imagine that scene, and actually within this album is a depiction of him winning his Victoria Cross. You can see that online and in the print version. It is a true pleasure to have the opportunity to handle this group. It's the unique Victoria Cross for the last war to the Loyals, and his widow went to receive this from the hands of King George VI. Even more poignantly, his son was born just 8 days after that act. This is sold by his descendants, and we hope that it will find a very good home. So lot 167, that's Lieutenant Sandys Clark's Victoria Cross Group of 5, 3 to 500,000, worth every penny of that. So there's the back cover, the front cover covered, and again, we love these special collections, and one of those is the collection of medals from the late David Gymes, covering the 53rd and 85th Light Infantry, the King's Shropshire Light Infantry, a lifelong passionate collector. It's been a pleasure. All 3 of us have worked on, and Robert as well, have worked on that collection, and to tell the stories of those men, which was so excellently researched by David. There's a very fine run of relatively scarce military general service medals. He had some of the good ones, and a very good run of Victorian awards, which I think Harry's going to cover, and a good run of gallantry as well. So there's some really nice Second World War gallantry, MM, DSO, MC groups, there's some multiple gallantry, some early Victorian awards. So there really is something for everyone. If you're into Shropshires, this is your lucky day. And also there's much wider appeal because of the rarity of some of these awards. So I'm going to pass over to Claudia, who's going to kick us off, and then Harry will close out the show.
Thank you very much, Marcus. It's my pleasure to show you one of the highlights of the Gymes collection. This is the 2-clasp MGSM to Major General Henry John French. Born in 1796, he served as ensign with the 85th Regiment of Foot during the Peninsular Campaign in Spain, where he was present for the battles of the Naval and the Neve. After the end of the war, the battalion was quickly posted overseas once again to serve in North America in the War of 1812. There, they were involved in a number of engagements, including at the Battle of Bladensburg in August 1814, the Battle of Baltimore in September, and in December and January at the Battle of New Orleans, where the 85th successfully captured the enemy's defensive line during the attack on the right bank of the Mississippi River. They were further engaged at the investiture of Fort Bower in February 1815, and after the war, French was promoted captain and served for a time in the Mediterranean before making his return to North America, where he served as a major with the 85th Foot for the whole of the Canadian Rebellion in 1837 and 38. Remaining in North America, French was the Deputy Quartermaster General in Jamaica for 8 years. He was later promoted Colonel of the 80th Foot in 1854 and to Major General in 1867, prior to his death less than a decade later in 1874. This is, again, part of the Gymes collection and is lot 68 in our sale with an estimate of 4,000 to 6,000. Now, moving on to the Navy, I've picked out one of my favorite medals from the sale, this Distinguished Service Medal to second-hand George William Percy Cracknell, who earned his medal in an action aboard the Q-ship HMS Boy Alfred, in which he sank a German U-boat. Just in case you need a refresher, Q-ships were merchant vessels which during the First World War were armed with concealable weaponry intended to catch the German U-boat submarines by surprise. The Boy Alfred started its life as a fishing smack, but during the war was converted into a Q-ship. On 1st of February 1917, with Cracknell on board as second hand, She was sailing off the coast of Lowestoft in the company of fellow Q-ship the HMS Ultrai, which was commanded by future VC winner Thomas Crisp, when two German U-boats closed in on small fishing vessels, one of which ordered Boy Alfred's crew to abandon ship. However, the skipper of Boy Alfred, Walter Wharton, DSC, asked the German submarine to repeat the message, pretending that he hadn't heard it the first time in order to buy time to get Boy Alfred into the proper position. Skipper Wharton managed to close the distance between them to just 100 yards and ordered his crew to open fire. The first two shots missed, but the third hit the hull and the fourth hit conning tower, which burst inside the submarine, causing her to sink. This was considered at the time to be a definite hit, and Skipper Wharton added a bar to his DSC, while Cracknell was awarded with this DCM. The crew of the Boy Alfred, which was later renamed the Ethel and Millie, was to meet a very grisly fate during the action which earned Skipper Crisp his VC. She met her end in August 1917, at which time, fortunately, Cracknell was not on board. Ethel and Millie was together with Nelson when they were attacked by a U-boat. Crisp was the skipper of the Nelson and was mortally wounded in the action and ordered his crew to abandon ship and throw his body overboard. Her crew took to the lifeboat and were the very last people to lay eyes on the Ethel and Millie's crew. And they saw them with their hands behind their back, lined up on the deck of the German submarine. Unfortunately, none of those men were ever heard from again, and Crisp was awarded a posthumous Victoria Cross for his heroism in the action. Thankfully, Cracknell avoided this fate and survived the war and lived the rest of his life in Lowestoft. This is lot 160 of our auction in July and has an estimate of 600 to 800. Now to take us away from the Navy is Harry.
Yes, back to the Army. And I'm going to talk today about a couple of lots. Starting with lot 97, awarded to Lieutenant Percival Grover of the Shropshire Light Infantry. An old boy of rugby, he was commissioned in 1895 and sent out to India with the 1st Battalion of the Shropshire Light Infantry, where he served obviously on the northwest frontier with the Malakand Field Force. After this, he was promoted to lieutenant, and when the Anglo-Boer War broke out, he was posted to, well, I should say he volunteered to serve in South Africa with the Burma Mounted Infantry, meaning that he, whilst his medal is named to the Shropshire Light Infantry, he was serving with a different unit. As a result of this, he is probably the only member of the Shropshire Light Infantry to have been present at the Battle of Sanna's Post. And unfortunately, he was killed during the action in the act of trying to save the guns, the most remarkable part of that engagement. He received a posthumous mention. He was one of relatively few officers who were not part of the Royal Artillery who volunteered to help save the guns, and his actions and his experience are written up very well in a number of publications. But tragically, he was mortally wounded and died just 20 minutes after his injury. He is commemorated in the chapel of Rugby School. Moving on now to lot 75. This is the Indian Mutiny Medal awarded to Private William Blazer of the 53rd Foot. This is a slightly unusual one. He is not mentioned anywhere. He is not specifically mentioned for his gallantry particularly. Private Blazer was the soldier servant to a Major Payne, later General Payne, who was serving with the 53rd during the Indian Mutiny. And a number of letters by Major Payne were published in the KSLI Journal in 1932, and they mention Private Blazer specifically, and specifically his death. He was very sadly killed at the Battle of Kalinundi on the 2nd of January 1858, and during that battle his legs were taken off by a cannonball. A tragic incident to be sure, but what is remarkable about it is what came afterwards. According to Major Payne's letter, the wing of the regiment that was present was so incensed by the death of Private Blazer, who was extremely popular, that they advanced without orders upon an enemy force of several thousand, despite numbering only a few hundred themselves, and killed 300 of them, took several guns, and routed the rest from the field, earning a stern word from Sir Colin Campbell, who did not take kindly to troops advancing without orders. I think a real remarkable testament to the popularity of this man, and a reminder that gallantry is not the only thing that makes a soldier. His popularity certainly inspired the men to win a remarkable victory. Yes, and that is lot 75, as I say, and it is estimated at £260 to £300.
So thank you so much for listening to 6 stories that we've plucked out from this sale. There's 310 lots, so there are so many amazing stories over the ages. We've obviously got the Gimes collection, which totals almost 100 lots. We've also got a rather fine collection of awards from the Kingdom of Iraq. We've got a smashing section of world awards and decorations, including some very attractive red stars from the German states and some rare modern awards from the United Arab Emirates, including awards in gold and precious stones. So there's pretty much something for everyone. It's going to be a fabulous day and the usual drinks party afterwards. Robert is furiously preparing the exhibition, so if you're in town for the week or so before, do come in and see these treasures on public display, and hope by now you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about these stories, and perhaps you're going to have a bit more of a deeper look on Spink Live or the print catalogue. And happy bidding for the 24th of July. Thank you very much. Goodbye.